Alright, this video I'm going to be demonstrating what an array list is and how to use one. So the problem with something like an array is that arrays are really useful, but they have a fixed size. So say for example you make an array of size 10 and all of a sudden in your program you've got to add an 11th item in. That becomes a problem. You can't just add an extra item past the end of the list. So that's where array lists come in handy. An array list is like an array, but it's dynamic size. So it can go as big as you need it to go or as small as you need it to go. So let's get started. I'll show you how this works. So let's create a new project. Call this thing ArrayList Example. And I'm just going to delete the comments. Oops. All right. First line of my program, I'm just going to write a comment here just saying create array list. And the way I'm going to create it is like this. So array list, and I'm going to put triangular brackets. I'm going to put the word string. Okay, because when you create an array list object, it's recommended you tell it what type of variable is going to be inside of it. So if you don't do this, then it's just going to put a generic object inside of it. Sometimes it's better to actually specify that it's a string inside of there. So now what's the variable name going to be? I'm going to call this thing my friends equals new array list. And again, use the triangular brackets and tell it there's going to be strings inside of it. And then bracket, semicolon. Now it went red because this is an object I need to import. So I need to go right click and then fix the imports. And it's going to include it right here. Now again, what I've done is I've created an ArrayList object. Its name is my friends. And the triangular brackets here just tell Java that, hey, I'm going to put strings inside of it. The ArrayList can hold types of any object you want. So just doing that will just specify to Java that it's going to contain strings. Now the way it works is my ArrayList is created right now. It's empty. It has nothing in it. Let's add in a few friends. So let's go my friends dot add, and I'm going to add in Sheldon. That's how I add the first one in. Now that went into position 0. So it went into the very first spot of my array list. I'm going to add another one in. Sue. And I'll add a third one in. Sammy. Okay, so what I've done is I've added in 3 strings, they're my friends, right? 3 strings into my array list. I didn't have to specify the size of my array list or anything. It just automatically added them in, and they each go one after another inside of it. So we can quickly print it out and see what it looks like right now. Println my friends. This will work. So it's going to print it out, and I'll show you what it looks like. So it lists Sheldon, Sue, and Sammy in that order, which is pretty good. The only thing that's a bit of a pain, I don't really like the square brackets, but we can always fix that later on if we want to print it out in a more user-friendly manner. If you want to print out only Sue, she's in index number 1. Because Sheldon's being in spot 0, Sue is in number 1, Sammy's number 2. So the way I would do that is I would go system.out.println my friends take a look at your options here. The one we need is get. So get will return the object at a given index. So I'm going to use get bracket 1. And because it's a string, it'll know how to print it out. Let's actually figure this out. See if it works. And Sue actually came out perfect. Let's say I want to remove Sue. So from the list. If I want to remove her, it's actually pretty simple. It's my friends dot remove 1. That will delete her out. That removes item number 1. And what will happen is Sammy will move up into spot number 1. So let's print out the array list again. Print out the list again. System.out.println my friends. Okay, so it should show that she's disappeared now. Yep. And that's it. So there's adding and removing. There's a few other things built in. So if you go under My Friends and hit dot, you can see we can add and we can clear the entire list if you want. You can search for it using this contains. So if you got to find an object inside there, you can figure out whether it's empty or not. It's a Boolean, it's a true or false. You can get its size if you need it. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. You can even convert it into an array if you want. So there's lots of things built into an array list. So this was just a very quick introduction. I showed you how to create it, how to add things in, how to print it very quickly, and how to remove it. By the way, if you wanted to print it without the square brackets, like it's showing up here, you would basically have to use a for loop. Print without square brackets. So the way I would do it is I would go for int I equals 0, I less than my friends dot size, that returns how many items are in there, I plus plus, and then what I would do is something like this: system dot out dot print my friends dot get bracket I, so get the current one, and then maybe I'll add a comma or something like that, just so you can see just quickly how it looks. So what I'm doing is I'm looping through and I'm grabbing each individual one. Maybe a comma wasn't the best way of doing this. Maybe I'll just do println with no comma, just so it looks a bit better. I'm just going to put a bunch of dashes here just to sort of separate them here. So all this does is it loops through and it just grabs each individual item and then prints it out versus trying to print it all in one shot. This is really, really handy because it's quick, but it may not be the way you want. You may not want it to show up at the square brackets like that. So let's see what it looks like with my new loop at the bottom here. Yeah, so that's another way of printing it out. That may be a bit more user-friendly, just if you want to print it out that way. So anyways, it's a little example here where I created an array list, showed you how to add things, how to remove things, and how to get each individual item and to get the size of the array list. That's pretty much all you're going to need. There's a few other specialty functions that you might need in the future, but like I said, this is just a little introduction video. Hopefully you found it helpful.